Chosen one, God said, pack up. Not maybe. Not when you feel ready. Not after you sort out your affairs and get everyone's approval and find the perfect moment for the disruption. God said, pack up. And somewhere beneath the surface of the life you have been quietly enduring, beneath the prayers you keep praying over the same situations, beneath the faithful routine you have built around a chapter that no longer feels alive, you already know this. You have been feeling something you cannot fully name, a kind of restlessness that sleep does not fix, a sense that you are going through the motions of a life that has already ended in some invisible realm, even though the days keep arriving in their ordinary order. You keep showing up to the same places, sitting across from the same faces, reaching for the same doors, and something in you knows. The fruit is not coming from this ground. Not because you failed, not because you prayed wrong, not because you were not enough, but because the ground itself has changed seasons. And God does not keep his promise in a field that is finished. He moves it. He has always moved it. And right now, in this message, I believe he is moving it for you. Stay with me. Every word of what comes next was placed here for this exact moment in your life. Before we go any further, I need to ask something of you. Not a big thing, just one thing. Whatever you are carrying into this moment, whatever has been filling your mind since you woke up this morning, set it down for a little while, not forever, just for the length of this message. Because what is being said here was not designed to be received in the background. This is not content. This is a conversation, and the person I am talking to right now is you, specifically you, the one who found their way here today, through a sequence of events they probably did not plan. I want to be honest with you about something before I say anything else. I do not know your name. I do not know the specific details of your situation. I do not know what city you are in, or what your morning looked like, or what particular weight has been pressing against your chest lately. But I do know this: you are not here by accident. You did not land on this message through some random sequence of decisions. There are things at work behind what you can see, things that have been working on your behalf in the unseen space of your life. And one of those things placed this word in front of you at this precise moment, not because you are everyone, but because you are specifically you, the one who needed to hear exactly this. So I want to speak to you as that specific person, not as a crowd, not as a general audience who might find something useful somewhere in here, as you. And what I want to say is this. I hear the Spirit saying something over your life today, and I want to frame it the way it is being given to me, not as my own conclusion, not as my personal observation, but as a word being placed on my heart for you. And it sounds like this: my child, the reason I am moving you is not because I am done with you, it is because I am not. Sit with that for a moment, because I think some of you have been carrying a secret fear, a fear that the clearing in your life, the things falling away, the ground going quiet, the doors that have stayed shut, that all of it means something is wrong with you, that God has looked away, that the season of favor has passed and you somehow missed the window. That is not what is happening. What is happening is the opposite. And this entire message is built to show you exactly what I mean by that. Let me start with something you have probably been experiencing but have not had language for. There are signs, specific, real, recognizable signs that show up in the life of a chosen one who is being moved from one chapter to the next. And I want to name them for you, not because naming them will make them go away, but because naming them might finally give you permission to stop fighting them. The first sign is the restlessness that lives underneath everything. It is not anxiety in the clinical sense, though it can feel like it. It is not depression, though it carries a weight that depression also carries. It is something more specific than either of those. It is the experience of lying in your bed at night, with nothing wrong in the immediate, measurable sense, no emergency, no crisis, nothing actively on fire, and yet feeling completely unable to settle. Like something in you is still scanning, still reaching, still listening for something that has not arrived yet. You try to rest, and you cannot fully. You try to enjoy the things that used to bring you enjoyment, and they do not land the same way. You have moments of laughter and genuine connection, and then you return to this underlying hum, this low-frequency awareness that something is unfinished, something is coming, something is waiting on the other side of a decision you have not yet made. That is not a malfunction, that is a signal. Your spirit is not broken. It is responding to a movement in the invisible realm that your natural senses cannot yet detect. It is like the way certain animals go still before a storm arrives. They are not panicking. They are receiving information. They are responding to something real. The restlessness is real information. And the information it is carrying is this: you were not designed to stay here. The second sign is the grief over things that have not died yet. This one is harder to explain. It is a quiet sadness, not over something you have already lost, but over something that is still technically present in your life, and yet feels like it is already gone. A relationship that is still intact on paper, but hollow in reality. A version of your purpose that used to feel alive, but now feels like a role you are performing rather than a life you are living. A community or environment or chapter that was once genuinely meaningful and now feels like you are the last one to understand that the season has ended. And what makes this grief strange is that you cannot easily explain it to anyone, because nothing bad has happened, not officially, not in the way that earns sympathy. The relationship has not ended. The job has not disappeared. The environment has not shattered. It has just run out of something, some animating quality that it once had, and you are grieving the loss of that quality while the structure around it still stands. That grief is holy. Do not dismiss it. Do not try to pray yourself out of it before you have let yourself feel what it is telling you. The grief is your spirit recognizing, before your mind is ready to agree, that the season is finished. And the appropriate response to a finished season is not to redecorate the room, it is to pack up. The third sign is the changed tolerance. Things that used to not bother you now. Conversations that once felt normal now feel like they are pressing on something in you that needs more space than those conversations can provide. Environments that were once energizing, or at least neutral, now feel draining in a way you cannot fully articulate. People who have not changed, who are exactly who they have always been, now feel like they belong to a world you are no longer entirely part of. And you have tried to shake it. You have told yourself you are being difficult or sensitive, or that you need to be more grateful, more patient, more willing to be present where you are. But the tolerance keeps narrowing. The things that used to fit do not fit in the same way. and no amount of effort, no amount of adjustment of your own attitude has been able to make them fit the way they used to. This is not ingratitude. This is not spiritual immaturity. This is your expansion outgrowing the container. And when a thing grows past its container, the container does not need to be blamed. It simply needs to be replaced. God is not asking you to shrink back down to fit where you are. He is asking you to be willing to step into the space that can hold what you have become. The fourth sign is the dreams. Not all dreams, and not in a way that requires a specific interpretation system or a particular framework to understand. Just this: if your dreaming life has felt unusually vivid lately, unusually directional, as if your sleep is taking you somewhere rather than just giving you rest, pay attention to that. The chosen one who is being moved into a new chapter often begins receiving what I would call geographical dreams, the sense of arriving somewhere unfamiliar but recognizing it, the sensation of a door, a threshold, a crossing from one space into another. Sometimes the images are literal, sometimes they are symbolic, but the underlying current is the same. Your spirit is already somewhere your body has not gone yet. Your spirit is already on the other side, and the dreams are dispatches from where you are being called. The fifth sign is the way certain prayers have stopped landing in the same direction. This one requires careful language, because I am not talking about prayer becoming less real or less necessary. Prayer is more necessary now than it has ever been. But if you have been honest with yourself, you may have noticed that when you pray over certain things in your current chapter, there is a quality of echo, as if you are speaking into a room that is no longer fully occupied, as if the frequency has shifted and what you are praying toward has already moved. This is not God being distant. This is God being directional. He is not absent from where you are. He is leaning in the direction of where you are going. And when you pray, you can feel that lean. You can feel that the prayers that land with the most weight are the ones that reach forward, the ones about what comes next, the ones that carry a sense of arrival rather than a plea for the current place to produce what it no longer can. That is not a failure of your faith. That is your faith finding its true direction. And the sixth sign, the one I want to name last because it is often the most quietly devastating, is the sense of elsewhere. Not of being unhappy, exactly. Not of being certain that something is wrong. Just this persistent, low-level awareness that you are not quite where you are supposed to be. That your life, the actual coordinates of your daily experience, are slightly off from something that has your name on it. Like you are living in the right neighborhood but the wrong house. Like you can feel, just at the edge of your sensing, a version of your life that is more fully yours, more fully aligned with what you were created for. And you cannot get to it from where you are standing. If any of those signs are active in your life right now, I want you to type 444 inches the comments. Not as a transaction, not as a ritual that earns you something, but as a declaration. A way of saying to yourself and to whatever is listening, I am awake to what is happening. I see it. I will not pretend I do not. Now, before we go any further into what all of this means, I want to stop and tell you something directly. What you are going to receive in this message, if you stay with it from beginning to end, is this. You are going to understand exactly why your ground ran out. Not just that it did, but the specific mechanics of how divine seasons close, and why the closing has nothing to do with your failure. You are going to understand what God actually means when he says new location, because it is much deeper and more specific than most people think. You are going to understand the real reason the people around you are shifting, who is supposed to cross into the new chapter with you, who is completing their season in your story, and what to do with the grief of both. You are going to understand the obstacles, specifically the internal ones, the ones that live in your own thinking and have nothing to do with what anyone else has done, and you are going to be given something practical and real to do about them. And at the end of this message, I am going to speak something over your life that I believe will stay with you long after you have left this space. A declaration, a commissioning, something that does not just describe the new chapter, but activates it. That is what is waiting for you, if you stay, and it is worth staying for. Now, let me show you something. What you are experiencing right now, the signs, the restlessness, the grief, the dreams, the changed tolerance, the sense of elsewhere, this is not a new phenomenon. This is a pattern so consistent, so repeated across history and across scripture and across the lives of men and women who walked before us, that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. God moves his people before he releases the promise, not after, before. He moved Abraham, not toward a clear destination, not toward a mapped territory with guaranteed provision and a community waiting to receive him. God told Abraham to go, and Abraham went. He packed up his household and his belongings and his faith, and he walked in the direction he had been given without knowing the name of the place he was going to. And the blessing, the land, the covenant, the nation that would come from him, none of it was waiting in the place he had been. All of it was waiting in the place he was willing to go. The blessing was not behind him, it was ahead of him, and the only way to receive it was to move. He moved Ruth. And this one I want to spend a moment with, because I think it is the story that speaks most directly to where you are right now. After everything was gone, the husband, the familiar country, the future she had built her identity around, Ruth stood at a crossroads. She could go back. Her mother-in-law told her to go back. Go back to the familiar. Go back to the grief-worn but known. The people who spoke her language, the culture that understood her history, the comfort of the recognizable. Go back. And Ruth said no. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way that dismissed the love behind the suggestion. She said no, with a kind of quiet, settled certainty that is recognizable to anyone who has felt the same thing in their own chest. She said, "Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God." She did not have a map. She did not have a guarantee. She did not have a community waiting on the other side with open arms and a prepared place. She had a direction, and she moved in it. And what came next? The harvest she had never had access to in the life before this. The kinsman redeemer, the belonging, the provision, the elevation she could not have imagined from where she was standing at the crossroads. All of it came after the move. None of it came before. God moved the blessing forward and called her toward it. He did not bring the harvest to the field where she was standing. And he moved Moses, 40 years in the wilderness of Midian, 40 years in a place that looked, from the outside, like obscurity, like nothing, like a man who had once walked in the halls of Pharaoh's house and was now tending sheep in the desert. That looks like loss. That looks like a step down. That looks like a life that went in the wrong direction. But here is what those 40 years actually were. They were the only school in the world that could produce what was about to be needed. Because when God was ready to bring 2 million people through an actual wilderness, he needed a leader who already knew the wilderness. He needed someone who understood the terrain, the rhythms of it, the silence of it, the provision that could be found in it when you knew where to look. The wilderness years were not punishment. They were curriculum, and the curriculum was specific to the assignment. What your wilderness has been building in you is specific to what comes next. Not generic resilience, not vague strength. Specific preparation for a specific assignment that requires exactly what you have been formed in. Now I want to show you something in the original language, because I think it will change the way you hear this command. When we read the word pack up in this context, in the Hebrew, the word being used is nasa, N-A-S-A. And nasa does not simply mean to move or to go. It means to lift up, to carry, to bear, to be lifted. It is the same word used to describe what happened when the priests carried the Ark of the Covenant on their shoulders through the wilderness. They did not drag it, they did not push it, they lifted it and they bore it, and the presence of God was carried in that act of faithful physical movement. When God says, pack up, he is not just telling you to relocate, he is describing the posture of what is about to happen. You are not going to drag yourself into the new chapter. You are not going to push yourself into it through sheer effort and willpower. You are going to be lifted. You are going to be carried. The same word that describes the ark being borne on the shoulders of those who were faithful is the word that describes what God is about to do. With your life, you are not just moving. You are being carried into what comes next. But here is the question I want you to hold as we move forward. And this is the question that most people never ask, which is exactly why most people keep arriving in new external circumstances only to find the same internal experience waiting for them. The question is not just where are you going, the question is, what exactly ran out in the place where you are standing? Because if you do not understand what ran out, you will pack up and carry the dry soil with you. You will carry the same frequency into a new location and wonder why the new location feels strangely familiar. You will surround yourself with new people and discover that the same relational patterns are playing out in different faces. The location changes, the experience stays the same. This is why the next part of this message matters as much as it does. Because understanding what ran out and understanding what new location actually means at every level, not just the surface level, not just the practical external level, but the spiritual level, the relational level, the internal level, is the difference between obeying the command and actually receiving what the command is leading you toward. And right now, I want to show you exactly what that means. The question that kept coming back, the one that stayed underneath everything else, was this. When God says, the ground has run its season, what actually runs out? Because you have probably stood on dry ground before. You have probably walked through seasons that felt empty, felt slow, felt like nothing was moving. And some of those seasons ended, and things shifted, and you came out the other side with more than you went in with. So, how do you know the difference? How do you know when you are in a temporary dry season, the kind where patience and faithfulness are the right response, and when you are standing on ground that has genuinely finished its purpose and is calling you to move? That is the question we are going to answer right now. And the answer is going to give you something more valuable than permission to feel what you have already been feeling. It is going to give you clarity. There is a way to test the soil, and I want to walk you through it, not as a checklist, not as a diagnostic tool that produces an automatic verdict, but as a set of honest questions that, if you hold them carefully, will tell you something true about where you are. The first indicator is the direction of your prayers. Not the content of your prayers, not the words, but the direction. Where do your prayers feel most alive? Where do they feel like they are actually reaching something? When you pray over your current circumstances, your current relationships, your current location, your current chapter, is there a sense of connection, of reaching the source of what you are praying toward? Or is there a quality of echo, a sense of speaking into a space that used to feel full and now feels like the presence has already moved on to the next room? Now, I want to be careful here, because there are seasons where prayer feels dry that are still seasons where you are supposed to stay. Spiritual dryness is not always a relocation signal. Sometimes it is a deepening signal. Sometimes the silence is the lesson, but there is a specific kind of directional prayer that tells you something different from ordinary dryness. It is the experience of praying toward the future with more life than you can access when you pray over the present. It is the experience of the prayers that carry the most weight, and the most genuine faith being the ones that reach forward, that speak about something that does not exist yet in your immediate circumstances. If your prayers have a direction, and that direction is consistently forward and away from where you are standing, that is worth paying attention to. The second indicator is where your peace lives. Peace is a location indicator. This is something that does not get talked about enough. Peace is not just an emotional state. It is a navigational tool. And the question is a simple one. When you are inside your current environment, inside your current relationships, inside the structures of your current chapter, do you find rest there? Or does your peace live somewhere outside of it? Do you feel most settled when you are actually in your life? Or do you feel most settled when you are imagining something else? A temporary dry season does not necessarily relocate your peace. You can be in a difficult season and still find genuine rest in the people around you, in the assignment you are carrying, in the place where you are planted. But when the ground has run out, the peace migrates. It stops living inside the current chapter and starts living in the direction of the next one. And no matter how hard you try to make yourself feel at home where you are, the home feeling keeps escaping in the direction you have not yet moved. The third indicator is the growth measurement, and this one requires the most honesty. Set aside the question of effort for a moment. Set aside what you have been putting in. Set aside the faithfulness of your planting and the consistency of your watering. Just look at the output. Just look at what has been produced. Not in a spirit of self-condemnation, not as a measure of your worth or your faith or your calling, just as an honest evaluation of the field. Is there growth? Real, tangible, measurable growth in the areas that matter most to your calling, to your relationships, to your sense of purpose and provision? Or has the growth stopped? Not slowed, but stopped, despite consistent effort, despite genuine prayer, despite everything that used to produce results still being present. A seed will grow in the right soil. It will not grow in the wrong one, no matter how faithfully it is tended. And when a seed refuses to grow, despite faithful tending, the problem is not the seed. The problem is the soil. The fourth indicator is the nature of your remaining relationships. Not the relationships that have already left, not the ones that exited in the clearing, but the ones that are still present. The question is, when you are with the people who remain in your current chapter, do you feel alive? Do you feel known? Do you feel like the truest, most complete version of yourself has room to exist in those relationships? Or do you feel a quiet contraction, a sense of performing a version of yourself that fits the shared history but does not fully represent who you have become? This is not about the love being gone. The love can be genuine and still belong to a chapter that is closing. These people can matter deeply and still be seasonal. The question is not whether you love them, it is whether the relationships in their current form are producing life or maintaining structure. And those are two very different things. And the fifth indicator is the most specific one, and it is also the hardest to admit to yourself. Does the vision you carry, the vision God gave you for your life, still fit in the frame of where you currently are? Not the circumstances, not the specific logistics, not the practical details of how it would be realized, just the vision, the sense of what you were made for. The pull towards something that has been in your chest for years, that has survived every season of doubt and delay and disappointment. Does that vision fit where you are? Can it unfold from this location, with these people, in this chapter? Or has the vision grown past the frame? Because visions grow, they expand, they deepen, and sometimes the place that was once the right home for the beginning of a vision becomes too small for what the vision has become. Not because the place is bad, not because anything went wrong, but because the vision outgrew the container. When that happens, staying in the container is not faithfulness. It is the thing that prevents the vision from being what it was always meant to become. Run that test. Not quickly, not defensively. Run it honestly, with the courage to receive whatever it reveals, even if what it reveals asks something of you that you have been trying to avoid admitting. Because the truth that runs underneath all 5 of those indicators is the same truth. Dry ground is not punishment, it is information. And the information it carries is this: the field has been harvested. The season is complete, and the blessing has been moved forward. The question that remains, and the one that is going to occupy us for the rest of this message, is not whether the command has been issued. It has. The question is what exactly you are being commanded into, because new location is not just a change of address. Let me show you what I mean by that, because this is the part where most people stop too early. They hear new location and they begin thinking about practical geography. They think about the city they have been considering, or the house they have been praying about, or the country that keeps coming up in their spirit. And sometimes those things are exactly what God is talking about. Sometimes the new location is literal, physical, geographical, a place you have to plant your feet. But new location operates on 5 levels. And most of the transformation that is available to you in this command lives at the levels that are not immediately visible. The first level is geographical. And yes, sometimes God means this literally. Sometimes the assignment is tied to a specific physical place, a city, a community, a region, and the move has to be literal. If that is true for you, you probably already know it. It has been in your prayers, in your dreams, in the persistent pull toward a specific direction. And if that is true, then the practical geographic move is part of what we are preparing for in this message. But the second level is relational, and this is where most of the immediate work happens. Your relational environment is a location, the people you spend your time with, the conversations you inhabit, the voices you allow into the space of your life. These form a location just as real as any physical address. And sometimes the new location that God is calling you into is primarily a relational one. A new circle, new voices, new people whose presence creates a different kind of environment than the one you have been living in. People who know how to speak the language of who you are becoming, not just who you have been. The third level is mental and emotional, and this one is internal. The beliefs you have been inhabiting are a location. The narratives you have built around your identity, around what is possible for you, around what you deserve and what you are capable of, and what God thinks of you, these narratives form a kind of interior address. And some of those interior addresses need to be vacated before the external move can carry its full weight. You can move your body to a new city and bring the old mental location with you. You can surround yourself with new people and still speak to them from the old narrative. The external move without the internal one produces a different kind of stagnation, still stuck, but in a new setting. The fourth level is spiritual. The frequency you are operating from, the spiritual environment of your interior life, the place in the unseen realm where your awareness lives. This is a location, and the invitation of the new chapter is to a higher frequency, a deeper access, a more honest and unencumbered connection to the source. Some of what has been weighing you down in the current chapter, the grief, the performance, the striving, the survival mode, all of it has been a kind of spiritual weight that kept the frequency low. And the new chapter requires a different frequency, one that is lighter, one that operates from receiving rather than grasping, from trust rather than management. And the fifth level is vocational. The work you are called to is a location. The assignment has an address. And sometimes the specific thing you were created to do cannot be fully expressed from where you are currently standing, not because you are not ready, but because the new assignment requires a new position, a new platform, a new sphere of influence, a new set of circumstances that the current chapter simply cannot provide. When God says new location, he may mean one of those levels. He may mean 3. He may mean all 5. And part of what the rest of this message is going to do is help you identify which levels are active for you right now. Because precision matters. You cannot pack up from a level you have not identified. But I also want to say this directly. The fact that the new location is multidimensional does not make it more overwhelming. It actually makes it more available. Because if new location only meant physical geography, you would have to wait until the circumstances aligned before anything could shift. But since new location operates on 5 levels simultaneously, you can begin to move right now. You can begin the relational shift right now. You can begin the interior shift right now. You can begin moving your prayer, your attention, your faith, your vision toward the new chapter right now, before a single external circumstance has changed. The move has already begun. It began the moment you found yourself here. Now I want to talk about something that I think is operating in almost every chosen one who has stayed too long in a chapter that has run its season. And I say this with complete compassion because I understand it. I understand the exact mechanism of it. The chosen one stays too long not because they are weak, not because they lack faith, not because they missed the signal. They stay too long because they are loyal. And that loyalty, the same loyalty that makes them extraordinary in the right season, becomes the thing that traps them in the wrong one. You have been faithful to the people who were with you in the wilderness. You have honored the relationships, the commitments, the structures of the current chapter. You have tried to make it work, not because you are naive, but because you are the kind of person who does not abandon things just because they get difficult. You wait, you stay, you believe, you hold on. And those qualities are not flaws. They are among your most essential qualities. But loyalty applied to a finished season is not faithfulness. It is avoidance dressed in holy clothing. It is the most spiritually respectable way to disobey a direct command. Moses stayed in Midian for 40 years. He built a life there. He built a family, a routine, a daily rhythm around tending flocks in a desert he had not chosen but had learned to navigate. And the text does not suggest that those 40 years were spent in constant readiness, waiting anxiously at the edge of the wilderness for the signal to move. He was living. He was present to what was in front of him. He was faithful to the life that existed. And then the bush burned, and the call came. And there is something I want you to notice about what happened next. Moses did not spend years preparing himself to leave. He did not negotiate a longer timeline. He expressed his doubts, his genuine human doubts, and God addressed them one by one, and then Moses moved. When the command was clear, the response was obedience, not immediately comfortable, not without questions, but obedience. And I believe that for some of you, the bush has already been burning for a long time, and you have been walking past it, not because you are disobedient at heart, but because you have not known how to make sense of what you are seeing. Because the fire is real and the call is real, but the next practical step has not yet been fully clear. This message is not going to tell you every specific practical step. It is not going to give you a timeline with dates and addresses. What it is going to do is give you clarity about what is actually happening. And clarity, genuine clarity about the nature and the scale of what God is doing, has a way of producing courage that no amount of motivation or encouragement can manufacture. You do not need more motivation. You need to understand what you are being called into. And the next part of this message is where that understanding begins to come into focus. But before we get there, I want you to hold a question. Not answer it yet. Just hold it. The question is this: if the new location is not just geographical, but relational, mental, spiritual, and vocational, then what has to shift inside you before the external move can carry its full weight? Because there is something happening in the chosen one who is being moved, not just around them, but inside them. A shift in frequency, a shift in identity, a shift in the very way they receive and transmit and exist in the world. And understanding that shift, understanding what it is and why it matters, and how to cooperate with it rather than fight it, is the part of this message that changes everything. We are going to get to that. And when we do, something in you is going to recognize it in the deepest way. The way you recognize something that was always true, but that you finally have the language for. Stay with me. Now, the first question anyone asks when God begins to move them is about what they are moving away from, and that is a fair and necessary question. You need to understand what has run its season. You need to honor what was real and then release it clearly, without leaving pieces of yourself behind in a place you are being called to leave. But there is an equally important question that most people skip, and it is the question that determines whether the move actually delivers what the promise said it would. The second question is, what are you moving toward? Not in the abstract, not in the general sense of better things and new beginnings, but specifically, what does the new location look like? What do the new people bring? What form do the new blessings take? And most importantly, who do you become in the new chapter? Because the new life is not just a new set of circumstances surrounding the same person. It is a different version of you, a more fully expressed version, a version that has been formed in the wilderness and is now stepping into the environment that was built for what the wilderness produced. And to understand who that person is, we have to understand what has been running out of you alongside the ground. Let me tell you what I mean. When the ground goes dry, it is not just the external provision that decreases. It is not just the relationships that thin out. There is something else that happens, something internal, something that affects the way you think and the way you perceive and the way you engage with the world around you. There is a quality of aliveness, of sharpness, of creative and spiritual and relational intelligence that begins to dim when you stay too long in the wrong environment. It is gradual enough that you do not notice the exact moment it begins. You only notice it when you look back and realize that you used to learn things faster, see things more clearly, connect with people more easily, feel the presence of God more immediately. And somewhere in the long stay in the wrong chapter, some of that sharpness went quiet. Not gone, but quiet. And in the next part of this message, I am going to tell you something specific about that sharpness, about why the chosen one loses it in the wrong environment, and what the new chapter does to restore it. There is a dimension of this that I have not yet addressed, a dimension that bridges the spiritual and the scientific in a way that I believe will reframe everything you understand about why the new location matters so urgently. But that comes next. Right now, let me tell you what I know about the people who are supposed to cross into the new chapter with you. Because the command says, new people. And those two words carry a weight that deserves its own conversation. There is a specific experience that the chosen one goes through as they approach the transition between chapters. The social world around them begins to thin. People who were once constant presences begin to appear less frequently, to feel more distant, to gradually occupy a smaller and smaller portion of the daily landscape. And this thinning is felt not as relief, at least not primarily, but as loss, even when the relationships that are thinning were not particularly healthy. Even when, on some level, you knew they did not belong to the version of you that was emerging. The loss is still real. The grief is still real. And the worst part, the part that the chosen one often suffers alone because they cannot fully explain it to anyone, is the isolation that sits in the space between what is leaving and what has not yet arrived. You have not yet met the new people, the covenant connections, the ones who will understand the language of who you are becoming, who will recognize you without explanation, who were built for the version of you that came through the fire. They are not here yet. They belong to the chapter you have not yet entered. And in the gap between what left and what is coming, there is a loneliness that is unlike any other kind of loneliness, because it is the loneliness of someone who is between worlds, not fully in the old world, not yet in the new one, standing in the threshold, which is the loneliest place available. If that is where you are right now, I want you to hear this directly. The threshold is not a punishment. It is not evidence that you made a mistake, or that God has forgotten about you, or that the promise was not real. The threshold is a specific spiritual location, and it has a name. It is called preparation, not passive waiting, not suspended animation, but active, invisible, essential preparation for the environment you are stepping into. Because the new chapter, with its new people, and its new connections, and its new conversations, requires a version of you that has been refined in the threshold. It requires someone who has been honest about the grief, someone who has been stripped of the performances and the armor and the versions of themselves that were constructed for survival in the old chapter. Someone who arrives without pretense, without the old social masks, without the personas that the wrong environments required. The threshold strips all of that, and what remains when the stripping is complete is the truest, most essential version of who you are. And it is that version, that stripped down, tested, genuinely real version, that the new people are waiting to receive. There are three kinds of people in the landscape of the chosen one who is moving between chapters. The first kind is the seasonal connection. These are people who were exactly right for the chapter that is closing. They belonged to it. Their presence was genuine. The love was real. The shared history was meaningful. They carried something you needed in a season you could not have survived without them. And now the season has ended, and they are completing their purpose in your story. Not because they failed you or you failed them, but because the purpose was seasonal by design. Every relationship does not have to be permanent to be real. Every connection does not have to last forever to have mattered profoundly. Releasing a seasonal connection is not ingratitude. It is honoring the truth of what the connection was. The second kind is the covenant connection. These are the people who are crossing with you. Fewer than you think, more than you fear. They are recognizable not because they are perfect or because they have never disappointed you, but because when everything in the social landscape has been shaking and shifting and departing, they have stayed. Not because they understand every decision you have made, not because they agree with every step, but because the covenant between you is deeper than the current circumstances. They belong to the new chapter too. They are part of what God is carrying forward. And the in-between time, as lonely as it has been, has actually been clarifying who those people are. The shaking reveals what is rooted, and the people who are still present after the shaking are, in most cases, the people who were always meant to be there. The third kind is the people you have not yet met. They exist. I want to say that simply and clearly because I think it needs to be said. They are real. They are already living somewhere on the other side of the decision you have not yet fully made. And they were not built for the person you were in the previous chapter. They do not know that version of you. They will only ever know the version that came through the fire, the version that the threshold has been forming, the version that is stepping into the new location without the old armor. And what they bring is something the old chapter could not provide: recognition without explanation. You will not have to introduce yourself in the way you have always had to introduce yourself, performing your history, defending your choices, earning the right to be received. They will see you simply the way you have been waiting to be seen for a long time. That is what new people means, and it is worth every moment of the loneliness in the threshold. But I need to address something directly before we go any further. Something that I believe is one of the most powerful forces keeping the chosen one from making the move that has been commanded. It is the guilt. Not guilt about something you have done wrong, not moral guilt, but a specific, quiet, persistent guilt that lives in the chest of anyone who is in the process of outgrowing their environment. The guilt of leaving, the guilt of becoming someone that certain people cannot follow, the guilt of protecting something in yourself that the people around you do not fully understand, the guilt of pulling back, of being less available, of changing in ways that feel, from the outside, like you are becoming someone different from the person they have known. That guilt is real. I want to honor that before I address it, because dismissing it, rushing past it, acting like it should not be there, does not help you. It just drives it underground, where it continues to operate below the surface, slowing the move, keeping you 1 foot in and 1 foot out, never fully present to where you are going, because part of you is still apologizing for leaving. So, let me name the specific forms it takes. You feel guilty for not answering the calls the way you used to. You feel guilty for the conversations you have started avoiding, not because the people in them are bad people, but because the energy of them belongs to a frequency you are moving away from. You feel guilty for the version of yourself that was more available, more explainable, more consistent with who you have always been, to the people who have known you. You feel guilty for the silence, for the distance, for the ways you have changed without being able to fully articulate why or how, or what it means for the relationship going forward. You feel guilty for becoming someone whose next chapter some of the people you love simply cannot follow. And I want to say something to all of that guilt, directly and clearly. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to outgrow places. You are allowed to outgrow versions of yourself that were built for seasons that have ended. You are allowed to change without providing a press release. You are allowed to protect what God is building in you, even from people who love you. Even from people whose love for you is genuine and whose desire for your presence is sincere. You are allowed to choose the direction God is calling you toward without apologizing to the people who are not being called in the same direction. And you do not owe anyone an explanation for becoming who you were always intended to be. Boundaries are not betrayal. Distance is not rejection. Silence is not cruelty, and outgrowing someone is not abandoning them. It is completing the purpose of the relationship with honesty rather than performance. Ruth's mother-in-law, Naomi, told her to go back. She said it out of love. She said it because she genuinely believed that what waited for Ruth in the new direction was too uncertain, too foreign, too risky compared to the familiarity of going home. And Naomi was not wrong to love Ruth in that way. Her love was real, her concern was genuine. But Ruth's yes to the new direction was not a no to Naomi. It was a yes to what both of them could not yet see. and what Naomi eventually experienced, because Ruth chose the new direction, the harvest, the provision, the redemption, the belonging. It extended to Naomi as well. Ruth's obedience produced fruit that the people around her also ate from. Your move is not just for you. The new chapter you are stepping into will carry blessing not just for your own life, but for the people who are covenant connected to you, the ones who cross with you, and sometimes even for the ones who tried to send you back. Your obedience has a reach that you cannot currently calculate. Now, I want to stop and address something that I think is the deepest and most persistent obstacle. Not the guilt, which we have just addressed, not the loneliness of the threshold, but something that lives underneath both of those things. Something that is harder to name and harder to release. And it is this. Some of you, in the very quiet interior place that you do not show to many people, are not actually afraid that the move will fail. You are afraid that it will succeed. I want to hold that sentence in the air for a moment, because I think it is more common than it gets acknowledged, and I think it is one of the most spiritually and psychologically honest things I can say in this message. You are afraid of the new life, not afraid it will not come, afraid it will. Afraid that the person who lives in the new chapter, with the new location and the new people and the new blessings, is someone you do not fully recognize. Someone you are not certain you know how to be. Someone who carries a visibility and a responsibility and a version of yourself that the current, quieter, more hidden version of you looks at with a kind of terror. What if I step into the new chapter and everyone can see me? What if the new people discover that I am not actually who God said I was? What if the new assignment is larger than what I know how to carry? What if success changes me into someone I do not want to become? I want to tell you something about that fear. Something that might surprise you. That fear is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom. Think about that carefully. The people who arrived at elevation and destroyed what they were given, the ones who received platform before character, who received provision before the capacity to steward it, who received visibility before the internal formation that visibility requires. Many of them had no fear. They walked into the new chapter with absolute confidence and zero reverence. And the absence of fear, in those cases, was not a sign of readiness. It was a sign of incompleteness. Your fear, the specific fear you feel when you imagine actually living in the new chapter, that fear means you understand the weight of what is being entrusted. It means you are not taking the command lightly. It means something in you is awake to the gravity of what God is preparing. And that awareness, that reverence, that healthy trembling at the threshold is not disqualification. It is evidence of qualification. The one who trembles at the threshold is more ready than the one who strides through without reverence. You are more ready than you think. I want to give you something practical now, not a concept, a framework, something you can actually use to navigate the in-between, to understand what needs to happen in the threshold before the external move is complete. I call it the packing protocol, and I am going to come back to it in detail later in this message. But I want to introduce the first and most important principle of it right now, because it changes the way you approach everything that comes next. The wrong first question when you are being moved is, what do I leave behind? The right first question is, what am I carrying that was never mine to carry? Because the leaving is not primarily about the external things, the relationships, the location, the structures of the current chapter. It is primarily about the interior things. The stories you have been telling yourself about who you are and what you are worth and what is possible for you and what God actually thinks of you. Some of those stories were given to you by the wrong chapter. Some of them were built in survival mode. Some of them were constructed to fit a container that was always temporary. And they are not you. They never were. They were the clothes of the wrong season. And the packing protocol begins with setting those things down before you pick up anything else. But there is also something else happening that we have not addressed yet. Something that I believe is the deepest layer of what this command is actually about. Something that bridges the spiritual reality of what is happening with a physical, biological, measurable reality that affects the way you think, the way you perceive, the way you connect with God and with the people around you. There is something happening inside you, in your actual brain, in the frequency of your very mind, that the wrong chapter has been suppressing. And the new chapter, with its new environment, and its new relational frequency, and its new spiritual atmosphere, restores it. I am going to tell you about that in the next part of this message. And when I do, it is going to give you a different kind of understanding of why this move is urgent. Not urgent in the way that creates panic, urgent in the way that creates clarity. The clarity that comes when science and spirit say the same thing. Stay with me. There is something I want you to hold before we go any further into what the new chapter looks like. It is this. The clearing is not the obstacle to the blessing. The clearing is the blessing in its first form. I know that may not feel true from where you are standing. When you are in the middle of the clearing, when the relationships are thinning and the doors are staying closed, and the environment that once felt like home now feels like a rented room that has stopped suiting you, it does not feel like blessing. It feels like loss. It feels like something is going wrong. It feels, on the harder days, like maybe the promise was not real, like maybe you misread the signal, like maybe you were supposed to stay and you did something to accelerate your own exile. But I want to show you something, and I want to show it to you through the life of a man who understood what the clearing actually is, not because he had a theological framework for it, but because he lived through it in one of the most documented ways in all of recorded history. Joseph was not cleared once, he was cleared twice. And the first clearing did not look like divine preparation. It looked like pure betrayal. His brothers, the people closest to him, the people who shared his blood and his father and his history, stripped him of the coat that was the symbol of his distinction and threw him into a pit. And then they sold him. They exchanged him for a price and watched him walk away in chains and went home and told his father he was dead. That is not a metaphor. That happened. And the question I want you to sit with for a moment is this. Where was God in that moment? Not theologically, not abstractly. In that pit, in those chains, in that specific horror, where was God? He was there, completely there, not absent, not asleep, not confused about what his servant was experiencing. He was there, fully present, and he was not stopping it. Not because he was indifferent to the pain, but because the pit was necessary. Not morally necessary, not divinely endorsed, but necessary in the architecture of what was being built. Because when God needed someone to stand before Pharaoh and interpret dreams that would determine the survival of a civilization, he could not use a man who had never been in a place where only God could help him. He could not use a man whose confidence in his own gifts had never been tested in a situation where the gifts were worthless and the only thing that remained was a raw, undecorated trust. The pit produced something in Joseph that the palace of his father's house never could have produced, and what it produced was the exact thing that made him useful when the time came. Then there was the second clearing, Potiphar's house, the moment of favor that arrived after the pit, the rise from slave to the most trusted man in a powerful household. And just as things were stabilizing, just as Joseph had rebuilt something that looked like a life, it was taken again, not because of his failure, because of a lie someone else told, and he went to prison. 2 clearings, betrayal, then injustice. And from the outside, both of them looked like the same thing: life going wrong, blessing being withheld, the promise being delayed past any reasonable human timeline. But here is what I want you to see. In the prison, Joseph encountered 2 men, a cupbearer and a baker, and he interpreted their dreams. One of those men, when he was released from prison and restored to his position, forgot Joseph. For 2 years, he forgot him completely. And then one day, Pharaoh had a dream that no one in Egypt could interpret, and the cupbearer remembered. And because he remembered, Joseph was called out of the prison. Do you see what happened? The prison was not a detour from the palace. The prison was the only path to the palace. Not because suffering is good, not because God wanted Joseph to suffer, but because the exact skill Joseph would need in the exact moment the door opened, the ability to interpret what others could not understand, was developed in the prison. The pit stripped him, the prison trained him, and the palace was the size of both of them together. What I am trying to tell you is this: the depth of your clearing is not random, it is proportional. It is proportional to the height of what is coming. And God does not over-prepare for small assignments. He does not take someone through a long, deep, multi-layered clearing and then open a small door. The door that opens on the other side of this clearing has the dimensions of everything you have been through. Do not let the length of the clearing convince you that the ceiling will be low. Now I want to show you something in the original language, because I think there is a word that changes the way you receive the clearing. The prophet Joel wrote something that has been quoted many times but rarely opened at the level. I want to open it with you right now. He wrote that God would restore the years that the locusts had eaten. And most people read that and think, restoration means getting back to where they were before the loss, getting back what was taken, a return to the previous state. But the word Joel used is not the ordinary word for returning something. In the Hebrew, the word is shalom, and shalom does not mean to return something to its original condition. Shalom means to be made complete, to be made whole in a way that exceeds what was there before. It carries the image of a debt being overpaid, of a court that finds a thief guilty and orders them not just to return what was stolen, but to pay back 4 times, 5 times, 7 times the original amount. God is not restoring you to where you were before the clearing. He is paying back with interest. He is not offering a return. He is offering a completion, and the completion is larger than what the locusts ate. Not slightly larger, disproportionately, unexpectedly, almost incomprehensibly larger. The years that felt wasted, the seasons that felt like nothing was growing, the relationships that drained more than they gave, the chapters that asked everything of you and seemed to produce so little in return. God is not just acknowledging those years. He is overpaying for them. And the new chapter, the one that begins on the other side of this command, carries in it the weight of everything that was taken, plus the interest on all of it. Type "I receive" in the comments right now, if your spirit just confirmed that. Not as a transaction, as a declaration. Let your comment be your yes before the harvest arrives. Now, let me show you specifically what this new blessing looks like, not in abstract terms, in specific areas. Because the new chapter reorganizes three things simultaneously, and understanding all three of them gives you a clearer picture of what you are actually moving toward. The first area is relationships. Here is what is shifting in the relational landscape of the chosen one who is being moved into a new chapter. People who you thought would be present for the long term will complete their season in your story. I have already addressed the grief of this, and I am not going to minimize it again. But what I want to tell you now is what arrives after the clearing of the relational landscape. People will begin appearing in your life who speak a language you have been speaking internally for years, but have not been able to speak out loud because no one around you understood it. People who see the version of you that came through the fire and recognize it without needing an introduction. People who carry doors, who know things you need to know, who are connected to the places and the opportunities and the conversations that belong to the new chapter. And they will not arrive because you went looking for them. They will arrive because you moved in the direction of the new chapter, and they were already there, waiting for someone with exactly your frequency to show up. What you will feel during this transition, and I want to be honest with you about this, is a disorienting mix of grief and wonder. The grief of the departures will not have fully resolved before the wonder of the new arrivals begins. And for a period, you will be carrying both at the same time. The pain of what has ended and the quiet, growing astonishment of what is coming. Let both be real. Do not rush past the grief to perform gratitude, and do not let the grief convince you to stop looking up at the arrivals. What not to do in this transition. Do not try to hold the people who are completing their season, not because you do not love them, but because trying to hold what has already been sealed shut is one of the most exhausting things a human being can do. And you will need your energy for what is arriving. Release them with love, with gratitude, without explanation that they are not yet positioned to receive. And trust that just when the relational landscape feels the most sparse, the next wave of people is already in motion toward you. The second area is purpose. The new chapter has a specific assignment attached to it, not a vague sense of calling that you have been trying to translate into practical action for years. A specific thing, a clear thing, an assignment that has a shape and a direction, and that you will recognize because it fits the exact combination of what the wilderness built in you and what you were carrying before the wilderness began. And here is something I want to say directly. The assignment in the new chapter will make use of everything. Everything you think was wasted. Everything you think went sideways. Every skill you developed in a season that seemed unrelated to your calling. Every relationship that ended in a way that taught you something about discernment. Every period of obscurity where you developed something in private that you could not yet use publicly. The new assignment will require all of it, and in that requirement, the years will begin to make a kind of sense they have not made before. The third area is provision. I want to be careful here because I have no interest in making promises that God did not make. I am not going to tell you that the new chapter means wealth or financial ease or the absence of difficulty. What I am going to tell you is what I believe is actually true, based on the pattern we have been tracing throughout this message. Resources that were withheld in the old chapter were not withheld because you were not deserving of them. They were withheld because the capacity to steward them had not yet been built. And the building of that capacity is exactly what the wilderness and the clearing have been doing. Joseph could not have managed the resources of Egypt as a young man in his father's house, full of dreams and gifted and loved and completely untested. He had to go through the pit and the prison before he had the character and the discernment and the stability that managing those resources required. And when the resources came, they came in proportion to the formation that had preceded them. What you are about to step into in the area of provision is not just access to more. It is access to more in a condition where you can actually steward it well, where the blessing does not become a burden, where the increase does not expose a weakness in the foundation, because the foundation was built in the wilderness. For those entering this season, provision will begin to flow in ways that feel like doors opening rather than things being manufactured. Connections will carry financial implications you did not plan for. Opportunities will arrive through channels you did not approach, not because you earned them through the right formula, but because you are now in a position, relational, spiritual, and internal, where the provision can find you. Now let me show you the metaphor that I think captures all three of those areas better than any direct description can. A seed does not know what it is becoming. I want you to think about that, not as a cliché, as a literal biological reality. The seed that is placed in the ground has no awareness of what it is designed to produce. It cannot see the tree. It cannot feel the fruit. It has no access to the vision of what it is in the process of becoming. All it knows is darkness. All it experiences is pressure, the weight of the soil above it, the absence of light, the slow, invisible process of something breaking open inside it that, from the seed's perspective, feels exactly like dying. And here is the thing about the seed that changes everything. What looks like burial is the beginning of the only kind of life the seed was ever designed to have. The darkness is not abandonment. It is the incubation chamber. The pressure is not punishment. It is the force that cracks open the casing so that what is inside can actually emerge. And the emergence, when it finally comes, is not the seed recovering from what the ground did to it. It is the seed becoming what it was always designed to be, because of what the ground did to it. You are not buried, you are planted. And there is a difference between those two things that changes the entire meaning of where you are right now. The buried thing decays, the planted thing grows. And the choosing of which of those is true is not a matter of circumstances. It is a matter of orientation. It is the decision to receive the darkness as incubation rather than abandonment. The decision to receive the pressure as formation rather than punishment. The decision to trust that what is breaking open inside you is not death. It is the beginning of the only kind of life you were always designed to have. Stay with that for a moment. Let it reach the places that have been interpreting the darkness as evidence of something gone wrong. Now, there is something I have been building toward across these revelations, and I want to begin addressing it directly, because it is the part of this message that I believe will reframe everything at a level that the purely spiritual conversation has not yet reached. I told you earlier that something inside the chosen one, something in the quality of their aliveness, their sharpness, their ability to perceive and connect and create and sense the presence of God, goes quiet in the wrong environment. I told you I was going to come back to that and tell you something specific about it. I am ready to do that now. What I want to tell you is this. What you experienced as sharpness, as that childlike ease of learning and sensing and connecting that seemed to fade somewhere in the long middle of the wrong chapter, has a name in science. And understanding that name, and what happens to it in the wrong environment, and what restores it in the right one, is going to give you a dimension of this command that I believe is the most personally urgent thing I will say in this entire message. And when I get to the specific part of what I have discovered about this, something a neuroscientist has been working on for over 3 decades that connects directly to everything we have been discussing about the chosen one and their specific native frequency, I think something in you is going to recognize it the same way you recognize the signs we discussed at the beginning of this message. But first, let me show you who you are. Let me show you the full identity of the person God is carrying into the new chapter. Because the new life is not a new set of circumstances surrounding the same person. It is a more fully expressed version of a person who was always this, who was formed to be this, but who needed the clearing and the formation and the threshold to become it in the full sense. That is what we are going to address next, and it is the deepest truth in this entire message. You have been thinking about the new life as a destination, a place you are trying to get to, a chapter you are trying to enter, a set of circumstances that, once in place, will constitute the new life you have been promised. I want to offer you a different way of seeing it. The new life is not a destination, it is a becoming. It is not something you arrive at. It is something you enter into, and it is already in motion inside you, right now, in this moment, whether or not a single external circumstance has yet changed. The location, the people, the provision, these are not the new life. They are the environment in which the life already in you can finally, fully, without restriction or suppression, or the weight of the wrong chapter pressing against it, express itself. And the reason this matters is this. If you believe the new life is out there somewhere, waiting to happen to you when the circumstances align, you will approach the command passively. You will wait. You will prepare. You will hold yourself in a kind of suspended readiness, waiting for the external world to shift before you allow the internal world to shift with it. But if you understand that the new life is already becoming inside you, that the frequency is already changing, that the person you are moving toward the new chapter as is already different from the person who entered the current chapter, then you understand that the move is not the beginning of the new life. The move is the confirmation of a new life that has already begun. Let me tell you about a frequency, not in a mystical sense, in a measurable, scientifically documented sense. because I believe that some of what has been described spiritually for generations, the heightened perception, the intuition, the capacity for what the scriptures call discernment, and what the scientific community calls something else entirely, operates in the brain at a frequency that is real, that is measurable, and that explains something very specific about the chosen one. When you were a child, before the systems and the pressures and the long stay in the wrong environments accumulated their weight, you had a quality of mind that felt almost effortless. You learned things quickly. Connections came easily. You sensed things before they were confirmed. You had a creativity and an intuitive quality and a spiritual receptiveness that felt natural, almost automatic, like you were tuned to something that others were not quite receiving. That is not nostalgia. That is not idealization of your childhood. That is a real description of a specific cognitive and spiritual state that you were operating in before the suppression began. Scientists who study the brain, researchers at institutions that have spent decades mapping the relationship between brainwave frequencies and human performance, have identified a specific state of the brain that they associate with peak intuition, accelerated learning, heightened creativity, and what some of them call the flow state, a state in which the brain is operating at its highest integration, where the analytical and the intuitive are working together rather than against each other, where perception is sharpest, where the connection to something larger than the immediate circumstances feels most alive. They call it the gamma state. And here is the thing about gamma that I want you to hear. It is not an advanced state that a few specially trained people can access after years of practice. It is the natural, God-given default state of a healthy, fully alive human brain, and every child is born with it running at full power. It is the state you were in before the wrong environments, the wrong education systems, the relentless pressure of survival mode, the accumulated weight of years in the wrong chapter began to suppress it. The scientists call what happens to gamma over time the decline effect. It is not a mystery. It is not a malfunction. It is a documented response to a specific set of environmental conditions. And the key word is environmental, not genetic, not permanent, not irreversible. The gamma that has gone quiet in you did not go quiet because something broke in you. It went quiet because the environment it requires could not be sustained in the chapter you have been in. And this is where the spiritual and the scientific say exactly the same thing. The wrong environment suppresses the frequency. The right environment restores it. And the command God is issuing, the pack up, the new location, the new people, the new blessings, the new life, is not just a spiritual upgrade. It is a frequency relocation. It is God moving you into the conditions under which what He placed in you at birth, the gamma that ran freely in you as a child, the sharpness that the wrong chapter suppressed, can be fully operational again. I want to be careful here, because I am not saying the new chapter is the solution to everything. I am not saying that moving to the right environment will automatically restore what was lost. The environment matters, but so does what you carry into the environment. And there is something specific that a neuroscientist who has spent over 3 decades studying brain entrainment technology has developed. Something that directly addresses the restoration of gamma in the chosen one who is navigating this exact transition that I want to tell you about in detail. I am going to address it specifically in what comes next. But I want to plant this here because I think it is important for you to understand the frame before we get to the specifics. What God is moving you toward is not just a new external life. It is a new internal state, a restored frequency, a recalibrated receiver, and the science confirms what the Spirit has been saying all along. Type I am in the comments right now if something about this landed, not as performance, as a declaration of what your spirit is already receiving before the external confirmation has arrived. Now let me show you who you actually are, because everything we have covered in this message, the clearing, the formation, the new location, the restored frequency, it is all leading to this, to the question of identity, to the question of who the person is that is stepping out of the current chapter and into the new one, and I want to name it with specificity. Because I think some of you have been living with a vague sense of calling, a sense that there is something significant in you that you have not yet been able to fully access or express. And I want to give that sense a name and a description that makes it more real, more receivable, more actionable. The first identity is the pioneer. The pioneer is the one who goes first, not because they are the bravest in the ordinary sense, not because they are without fear, but because they are internally compelled toward territory that no one in their immediate circle has yet entered. The pioneer looks at the edge of the familiar and does not feel the pull back toward safety that most people feel. They feel the pull forward, toward the unknown, toward the new location that has not yet been given a name in their community or their family or their relational world. If you are the pioneer, you have spent most of your life in the slightly uncomfortable position of being slightly ahead of where the people around you are willing to go. Not better than them, just ahead of them. And what looked like restlessness to them was actually navigation. What looked like instability was actually exploration. What looked like dissatisfaction was actually the pioneer's internal compass, always pointing toward the next territory. The new chapter is not going to ask you to stop being the pioneer. It is going to give you the terrain and the community and the resources and the restored frequency that the pioneer requires to do what the pioneer was always designed to do, to go first so that others can follow. The second identity is the light bearer. The light bearer is the one whose presence changes the atmosphere of a room, not through performance, not through effort, through something that lives in them at a frequency level, something that the people around them feel before any word has been spoken. The light bearer walks into a space of confusion or darkness or collective discouragement, and the atmosphere shifts, not because they tried to shift it, because they exist in the room. And here is what the light bearer has usually experienced in the wrong chapter. They have been dimming, consciously or unconsciously. They have been turning down the frequency of who they are to fit the tolerance of environments that were not built for what they carry. They have been making themselves smaller, quieter, less, because the full expression of what they carry was too much for the spaces they were in. The new location is built for the full expression. The new people can receive what you have been dimming, and the new assignment requires the undiminished version of what you carry. You do not have to be careful with it anymore in the same way. The new chapter is the first place where you can be fully lit without it being too much. The third identity is the bridge. The bridge is the one who exists between worlds, between the spiritual and the practical, between the broken and the restored, between the people who carry one kind of language and the people who carry another. The bridge has always been able to move between contexts that other people find incompatible, to speak the language of faith in spaces that do not use that language, to translate what is happening in the invisible realm into terms that people in the visible realm can receive, to stand between the old and the new and make a way across for the people who could not make the crossing alone. The bridge has usually felt, in the wrong chapter, like they do not fully belong anywhere. Too spiritual for the secular spaces, too practical for the religious spaces, too questioning for the certain, and too certain for the questioning. And that experience of not fully belonging has been painful in ways that are hard to explain. But the bridge does not belong fully to either side. That is not a flaw in the design. That is the design. The bridge is built to connect, not to belong to one shore. And the new chapter is one where the bridge will finally understand that their not belonging was always the mechanism of their purpose. The fourth identity is the cycle breaker. The cycle breaker is the one in whom a pattern that has existed in their lineage, in their relational history, in the generational rhythms of their family or their community, comes to its end. Not because the cycle breaker is more powerful than the cycle, but because they are willing to do the specific work of naming the cycle, sitting in the discomfort of breaking it, and absorbing the cost of the break without passing it forward. And the cost is real. The cycle breaker often stands alone in the middle of the break. The people who belong to the cycle, the ones who have been shaped by it and who have in some ways depended on its continuation, will not always celebrate the breaking. They may resist it. They may misinterpret it. They may call the cycle breaker selfish or disloyal or proud or difficult. But what ends in you does not continue into what comes after you. The children who come from your new chapter will not inherit what you broke in yours. The relationships that form around you in the new location will not reproduce the patterns that the old chapter sustained. And the cumulative effect of that, across time, across lives, across the people who are downstream from your obedience, is one of the most significant things a human being can do. The fifth identity is the builder. The builder understands something that the other identities are still learning, that the new chapter is not a destination, it is a construction site. The builder does not arrive at the new location and settle in. The builder arrives and begins to ask, what is this place supposed to become? What am I supposed to build here? Who is this being built for beyond me? The builder thinks in structures, in systems, in things that outlast the builder, in communities and organizations and relationships and bodies of work that will exist after the builder has moved on. And the new chapter for the builder is the first chapter where the resources and the position and the freedom to build at the scale of the assignment are finally available. If you are the builder, the wilderness was not just preparation for your own life, it was the education of a structural engineer who is about to be handed a site. Every difficult season taught you something about what holds and what does not. Every relationship that failed taught you something about what the foundation requires. Every plan that did not work out the way you expected taught you something about the gap between blueprints and building. And all of that, all of it, is directly applicable to what you are about to be handed in the new chapter. Now, I hear the Spirit saying something over you today, not as a theological formula, not as a declaration made for everyone, but as a word being placed on my heart for the specific person who has stayed with this message, who has received what has been said, who has felt the resonance of these identities in the place inside them that does not perform and does not pretend. And it sounds like this. I am not building a new you. I am uncovering the original one. The person God is calling into the new chapter is not a stranger to you. They are the most authentic version of yourself, the version that existed before the wrong chapters and the wrong environments. And the long years of dimming and suppressing and adjusting began their slow work. The new life is not becoming someone different. It is finally, fully, without apology or restriction, becoming who you actually are. And I want to show you something about what makes this restoration possible, because the identity declarations are real, but they are not just spiritual. They are biological. They are neurological. And there is a specific scientific reason why the new chapter, with its new environment and its new relational frequency and its restored internal state, is the condition under which these identities can finally operate at full power. Let me tell you about what I mentioned earlier, the gamma state, the God-given brainwave frequency that every chosen one is born with at full strength, and that the wrong environment has been quietly suppressing across the years of the wrong chapter. There is a neuroscientist. His name is Dr. Robert Lake, and he has spent 34 years studying one specific question. Why do people who were clearly exceptional as children, people who learned quickly and sensed deeply and had an almost effortless quality of intelligence and creativity, why do so many of them arrive in adulthood feeling like they are operating at a fraction of what they once were? His research, conducted in collaboration with institutions including MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, Berkeley, Columbia, and the Einstein Center in Berlin, led him to a specific conclusion. The answer is gamma. The brain, when it is healthy and the environment is right, runs at a gamma frequency that produces exactly the qualities we are describing: heightened intuition, accelerated learning, creative flow, spiritual sensitivity, the capacity to perceive things that others in the same room are not perceiving. This is the frequency at which the pioneer navigates, the light bearer shines, the bridge translates, the cycle breaker holds, and the builder constructs. And what happens to that frequency when the environment is wrong, when the relational world is draining, when the daily experience is survival rather than calling, when the wrong chapter has been sustained far past its season, is documented, measurable, and consistent across the populations he studied? The gamma goes quiet, not gone, not destroyed, not permanently lost, but suppressed, driven beneath the surface by the weight of the wrong conditions, like a signal being jammed by static that comes from every direction. And here is what Dr. Lake did with that understanding. He did not recommend years of meditation, or expensive equipment, or complex protocols that require specialized facilities. He compressed 34 years of neuroscience research into a 7-minute audio track, a specific acoustic frequency that the brain's neurons, when exposed to it, synchronize with in a process called brain entrainment. Not because the audio is doing something to you that you cannot do yourself, but because it is giving your brain a clear frequency to lock onto, the way a tuning fork gives a voice a note to find, and that synchronization reactivates the gamma that has been waiting underneath the static. He calls it the genius song. And I want to be honest with you about what I am saying. I am not telling you that a 7-minute audio track will replace the formation the wilderness produced in you. I am not telling you it will replace prayer or discernment or the slow, faithful work of becoming who God created you to be. What I am saying is this: the gamma that was suppressed in you is not just a scientific phenomenon, it is a spiritual one. It is the frequency at which your spirit most naturally connects to God, receives revelation, perceives what is happening in the unseen realm, and operates in the identities we just named. And if something exists that can restore the neurological conditions for that frequency, I believe that is not a commercial product. That is a divine tool. And I want to tell you about a woman. She had spent years looking, not casually, seriously, and sincerely. She had gone through meditation and spiritual retreats and every framework available to her for accessing the kind of connection she was reaching for, and none of it had produced what she was looking for. Not because those things were without value, but because the thing she was trying to reach was operating at a frequency that those methods alone could not restore in her. She encountered the genius song not as a purchase, but as a discovery. She had nothing left to lose, and everything she had tried had brought her closer, but not there. And within 2 weeks, she described what changed with a single word: synchronicities. The universe, as she put it, began speaking in a language she could finally hear. The sense of things arriving at exactly the right moment, of connections forming without being forced, of her prayer life opening into something that felt genuinely, recognizably alive in a way it had not been for years. Her gamma came back, and with it, the connection she had been reaching for. Now, I want to tell you how to access this, if your spirit is drawn to it. Not because I am asking you to purchase something, but because I believe, based on everything we have talked about in this message, that the chosen one, who is navigating the transition between chapters, who is being moved from the wrong frequency environment to the right one, who is standing at the threshold of the new location and the new people and the new life, is exactly the person this tool was designed for. The standard price for the Genius Song is $49, but for those watching this specific message, Dr. Lake has made it available for $39, not as a promotion, as a mission. His life's work was built on getting this technology to the people who actually need it, not the people who can simply afford it. And the people who actually need it are the ones who know their gamma has been suppressed, who know they are operating below what they were born to operate at, who feel, in their bones, that there is a version of themselves that is sharper and more alive and more connected than the version the wrong chapter produced. And when you access it at that price, you receive more than the audio track. You receive a bonus audio track designed for children to help the next generation keep their gamma instead of losing it the way you did. You receive the original book that the film The Secret drew its central ideas from, available on Amazon for $20, included at no additional cost. You receive a guided visualization designed to align your mind with the life you are moving toward. a tool that is directly applicable to everything this message has been building. And you receive a printed infographic of the 5 most essential habits for sustaining the frequency of the new chapter. Something designed to be placed where you will see it daily. All of that at $39, with a 100% money-back guarantee. No conditions, no time limit on how many times you use it before you decide. The only risk is not finding out. I want to say one more thing about this, and I want to say it clearly because it matters. There are imitations. Because anything that carries genuine value will attract imitation. There are audio tracks online, on streaming platforms, in search results that carry the name or claim the technology without actually containing the brain entrainment mechanism that makes the genius song what it is. If you search for it through a general search engine, if you look for it on streaming platforms or marketplaces, what you find will not be what I am describing. The only source where you will find the complete technology, with the 4 bonuses and the guarantee, is the link in the pinned comment and in the description of this message. That is the only place. Not because it is artificially restricted, but because what is in that link is the actual thing, and what is everywhere else is not. If your spirit has confirmed this, if something in you recognizes the connection between your suppressed gamma and your calling and the transition you are in the middle of, go to the pinned comment. Only if you feel led, only if your spirit confirms it. But go there first before going anywhere else. Now, I want to do something with you, and I want you to be present for it, as fully present as you can be in whatever situation you are in right now. This is something I call the new frequency calibration, and it is not a technique, it is not a method, it is a receiving, a simple act of positioning yourself to receive what has already been prepared. Here is what I want you to do, not physically, internally. In your mind, I want you to picture yourself standing at the edge of something, not a cliff, not a danger, just an edge. The edge of the chapter you have been in, the ground you have been standing on, is behind you now, and ahead of you, just beyond where the current ground ends, is the new territory. You cannot fully see it. You can sense it. You can feel the difference in the air. Something in the atmosphere ahead of you is different from the atmosphere you have been breathing. Lighter, more open, more aligned with the person you have been becoming in the long months and years of the clearing. I want you to feel what it would feel like to take the first step, not to arrive, just to step, to lift one foot off the familiar ground and place it in the direction of the new chapter. In your spirit, in your imagination, take that step right now. And as you do, let this land in you. You are not moving away from something. You are moving toward everything that was always being prepared for you. The new location is waiting. The new people are already living there. The new blessings are already assembled. The new life is already in motion. And the version of you that takes this step, the pioneer, the light bearer, the bridge, the cycle breaker, the builder, is the most real, most honest, most fully formed version of yourself that has ever existed. Let that settle into the deepest part of your chest right now. Type "I am ready" in the comments, not because you have no more questions, not because the fear has fully resolved, but because your spirit has confirmed what your mind is still catching up to. Let your comment be your declaration before the confirmation arrives in the visible world. There is one more thing left in this message, and it is the reason this entire word was placed in front of you today. Not the teaching, not the framework, not even the identity revelations, as real and as important as those are. What remains is a declaration, a prayer, a commissioning, a moment where we do not just talk about the new life, but speak it into being over your specific life, with the full weight of what has been walked through in this message behind it. Stay with me for what comes next. It is the part that will remain with you after everything else has faded, and it is worth every minute of what brought you here. Take a breath. The peak is behind us. What we just walked through together, the identities, the declarations, the activation, that was the height of this message. And now I need to bring you somewhere that most teachers skip, because it is uncomfortable and because it disrupts the momentum of the hope that was just built. But I am going to take you there anyway, because what I am about to address is the exact reason most chosen ones receive the revelation and still do not make the move. Not because they doubted the word, not because they lacked the faith, but because something inside them, something invisible and persistent and dressed in very reasonable clothing, worked against them from the inside. I am talking about the obstacles, not the external ones, the internal ones. The first one is control, and I want to address it with complete compassion, because I understand exactly where it comes from. You did not become a controlling person out of some character flaw. You became a person who manages tightly because at some point in your life, in the chapters that came before this one, unpredictability was not safe. Something happened, or a series of things happened, or maybe it was just the slow accumulation of a life where things went sideways often enough that your nervous system made a decision, a quiet, unconscious decision. The decision to stay in charge of as many variables as possible, because when you were in charge, things did not catch you off guard in the same way. Because when you managed the details, you could at least see the problems coming before they arrived. And that skill, that capacity to manage and organize and anticipate and prepare, served you. I want to say that clearly before I address its shadow. It served you. It kept you functional. It kept things from falling apart in seasons when things had every reason to fall apart. And it built in you a kind of competence and reliability that has made you trustworthy and effective in ways that many people around you have benefited from. But there is a shadow side to control, and it shows up most powerfully exactly here, at the threshold of the new chapter, at the moment God is asking you to move without the full map. Because you cannot control the new location before you have entered it. You cannot vet the new people before you have met them. You cannot calculate the new provision before you have seen it. You cannot manage the timeline of the new chapter because you did not set the timeline. You did not author the command. You received it. And receiving a command is fundamentally different from executing a plan you made yourself. And the control system in you, the one that has been keeping you safe for years, looks at all of that unmanageability and it says, not yet. Wait until you can see more clearly. Wait until the destination is mapped. Wait until you have spoken to the right people and done the right research and prepared in the right ways and minimized the risk to a level your nervous system can tolerate. And the waiting it recommends is not faithlessness. It is disguised as wisdom, and that is what makes it so dangerous. Abraham did not have a map. He had a direction, he had a word, he had a command, and a promise, and the promise was attached to obedience, not to preparation. God did not give him the coordinates of Canaan before he left Haran. God gave him a direction and a covenant, and then said, "Go, and as you go, I will show you." The revelation comes in the movement, not before it. The clarity arrives after the step, not before it. And the person who waits for the clarity before they step will wait for a very long time, because the clarity was designed to come the other way. This is what the surrender posture looks like. And it is not passive. It is one of the most active things a human being can do. It is the decision to say, "I trust the direction, even when I cannot see the destination. I trust the one who issued the command, even when the full picture is not available. I will move, and I will receive the map as I walk into the terrain it describes." In your spirit, right now, I want you to do one thing, not physically, internally. I want you to locate the part of you that is gripping something, the specific thing you have been trying to control in this transition, the relationship outcome you have been trying to guarantee, the financial picture you have been trying to secure before you move, the approval from a specific person that you have been waiting to receive before you allow yourself to go. Find it. Feel the grip of it in your chest or your shoulders, or whatever part of your body holds the tension of that control. And now I want you to do something radical. I want you to open your hands, not literally, in your imagination. Picture your hands, and picture them releasing whatever you have been holding so tightly that it has kept you from moving, not throwing it away, not abandoning it, just releasing your grip, releasing your control over the outcome. And, in that open-handed posture, simply say in your spirit, "I trust the direction." That is the surrender posture, and it will need to be practiced again and again, because control does not release in a single moment. But every time you practice the open hands, you are building the capacity that the new chapter requires. And every time you choose direction over destination, you are walking in the same faith that moved Abraham and Moses and Ruth and every chosen one who received what was promised on the other side of the threshold. Now, the second obstacle, and this is the one I mentioned earlier, that I believe is the most common and the least spoken about. Not the fear that the move will fail, the fear that it will succeed. I want to stay with this one for a moment, longer than feels comfortable, because I think some of you have been living with this fear underneath everything else, underneath the other questions and the other doubts and the other reasons you have given yourself for staying, and you have not had the language to call it what it is. What if I make the move, and the new chapter actually opens the way this message is describing? What if the new people arrive and they see me fully, and I am not what they think I am? What if the assignment in the new chapter is larger than anything I have carried before, and I step into it and everyone discovers that I was never actually qualified for it? What if the new life changes me in ways I cannot predict, and I become someone I do not recognize, someone my current relationships can no longer reach, someone who looks successful from the outside but has lost something irreplaceable in the becoming? These are not irrational fears. They are not signs of small faith. They are the honest questions of someone who is awake to the weight of what is being offered. And I want to offer you a reframe that I believe is one of the truest things in this entire message. The fear you feel when you imagine actually living in the new chapter is not disqualification. It is qualification. Think about the people who have received elevation before they had the character to steward it. Think about the ones who arrived at platform and influence and resources before the internal formation that those things require was in place. Many of them had no fear. They walked into the new chapter with complete confidence, with no reverence, with no trembling at the threshold. And what happened to some of them is a pattern we have all witnessed. The elevation exposed what had not yet been built. The resources overwhelmed what was not yet structured to receive them. The visibility revealed what the private life had not yet addressed. Your fear is not a sign that you are not ready. It is a sign that you understand what readiness actually costs. And the chosen one who trembles at the threshold because they understand the weight of what they are being handed is, in my experience, far more ready than the one who strides through without reverence. That fear you are carrying about success, about visibility, about becoming someone new, I want you to hear it differently from this moment forward. Hear it as your spirit confirming that you have been paying attention to the right things, that you have not taken this lightly, that you understand, at a level most people never reach, that the new chapter carries a responsibility alongside its blessings, and that you are the kind of person who does not take responsibility lightly. That is not weakness. That is the exact character the new assignment requires. And God does not issue commands to people he has not already prepared for the weight of what the command leads to. You are more ready than the fear is telling you, and the fear itself, in its honesty about the weight, is part of the evidence that you are. Now the third obstacle, and this one is the deepest, the one underneath the control and underneath the fear of success. The one that has been there the longest and that has probably been the quietest. It sounds like this: who am I to have a new life? Not out loud, not as a formed sentence you would say in conversation, but as a background hum in the interior space. A low-frequency question that activates every time a promise starts to feel real. Every time the word new lands somewhere hopeful in your chest, there is something underneath it that quickly qualifies. Who am I? What makes me think this applies to me? What if God looked more closely and saw what I actually am? Not the spiritual person in the right moments, not the faithful version I present to others, but the full picture, the private doubts, the moments of failure, the patterns I keep returning to, the distance between who I am presented as and who I actually am when no one is watching. I want to speak to that directly, and I want to speak to it not with encouragement, but with truth. Worthiness is not the prerequisite for the new life. Willingness is. God has never, across the full span of the story we have been tracing in this message, selected someone because they were the most spiritually polished option available. Abraham was not chosen because he was without doubt. He buried that doubt in the body of Hagar and the birth of Ishmael and 12 years of trying to manufacture what God had promised. He was chosen despite the doubt. Moses was not chosen because he was the most confident leader available. He stood at the burning bush and offered 5 consecutive reasons why God had the wrong man. He was chosen alongside the arguments. Ruth was not chosen because her theology was impeccable or her background was ideal. She was chosen because she moved in the direction of the covenant, even from a position of loss and foreignness and grief. None of them were chosen because they were worthy of the assignment. They were chosen because God saw in them a willingness that he could work with, a willingness to go even without the full picture, a willingness to receive even without complete understanding, a willingness to be used even while still carrying the private questions that have never fully resolved. Your assignment was not given to you as a reward for your spiritual performance. It was given to you as a declaration about your design. And the gap between your design and your current experience of yourself is not evidence that God miscalculated. It is evidence of what the new chapter is going to close. Not instantly, not without process, but genuinely and completely, in ways you will recognize as the new life unfolds around you and inside you. You do not have to be worthy, you have to be willing. And the fact that you are still here, still with this message, still receiving what has been said, is evidence enough of what you are willing to do. Now let me show you what the wilderness actually built in you, because this matters. Not as encouragement, as inventory. You need to know what you are carrying into the new chapter, what the hard seasons produced in you that did not get produced anywhere else, what you have now that you did not have before the clearing began. The first thing the wilderness builds is a very specific kind of knowledge about what holds. Not theoretical knowledge, not the knowledge that comes from study or from observing other people's lives, but the knowledge that comes from being in a situation where the only things that held were the things that were actually built on something real. When everything is shaking, when the relationships are thinning, and the provision is uncertain, and the path is unclear, you discover very quickly what is structural and what is decorative. And what you discover is knowledge you cannot unknow. It lives in you now as discernment, as an instinct for the real versus the performed, as an ability to sense the difference between a foundation and a facade that most people who have never had everything shake have not developed. That discernment is going to be essential in the new chapter, because the new chapter comes with new opportunities, new relationships, new voices, new open doors, and not all of them belong to the assignment. Some of them are tests. Some of them are distractions dressed as blessings. Some of them are invitations into rooms that look like the right room, but that would take you sideways from where you are going. And the discernment, the wilderness built in you, the instinct for what holds and what does not, is the specific tool that allows you to navigate those choices wisely. You did not develop that discernment in an easy season. It was built specifically in the hard one, and it is one of the most valuable things you are carrying into what comes next. The second thing the wilderness builds is compassion that has a foundation. There is a kind of compassion that is theoretical, that is extended from a distance, that is genuine in its intention, but limited in its depth, because it has never been sourced from personal experience of the very pain it is reaching toward. And then there is the compassion that comes from having been in the wilderness yourself, from having known the specific weight of the choosing, of the waiting, of the uncertainty without resolution, of the faithful tending that did not produce visible results, from having been in the place where God felt present, but the blessing felt delayed, and the questions were real, and the faith was genuine, but scraped thin, by the length of the season. That kind of compassion does not require words. It is transmitted in the way you sit with someone, in the way you hold space without rushing to fix, in the way your presence communicates, "I have been where you are," without your needing to say it out loud. And the people who will be part of your new chapter, the new people who are arriving into positions of influence in your life, some of them will be in their own wilderness. And the compassion you carry, the kind that was built from the inside out, will be the most useful thing you can offer them. The third thing the wilderness builds is a capacity for genuine dependency on God that comfortable seasons simply cannot produce. I want to be honest about this one, because it is not the comfortable thing to say. When your own resources are sufficient, when the relationships around you are stable, when the path is clear, and the provision is reliable, and the community is strong, it is possible to function with a relationship with God that is real, but that you never have to fully lean into. You can pray and read and attend and believe without ever reaching the place where the only thing left is God Himself. The wilderness takes that option away, not cruelly, purposefully, because what the new chapter requires is not someone who believes in God in the abstract. It requires someone who has been to the place where God was the only available option and found that He was enough. And that kind of knowing, the knowing that comes from having been stripped of every other option and finding the source still present, still faithful, still working even when invisible, cannot be received any other way. It can only be produced in the conditions the wilderness provides. And the relationships that left in the clearing, I want to address those directly too, because the relationship clearing was not arbitrary. It was not random loss. It was the specific removal of connections whose presence, however genuine their love, was functioning as a substitute for the depth of dependency the new assignment requires. Some of the people who left were taking up space that was designed for God, not because they intended to, not because there was anything wrong with them, but because when they were present, you could manage. You could navigate the difficulty through the relational support they provided. And the clearing was partly the removal of those management tools so that you would be taken to the depth of dependency that produces the kind of faith the new chapter needs you to carry. That does not mean their exit was painless or that the loss was not real. It was. And the grief was appropriate, and the honoring of what was real in those relationships is right. But it was also purposeful. And understanding the purpose does not eliminate the grief. It just gives the grief a context that keeps it from becoming the final word. And the false identity stripping. This is the last thing I want to name in the formation inventory, and it may be the most significant. What had to die in the clearing was not you. I want to say that again, because I think some of you have been carrying a quiet terror that what you lost in this season was something essential to who you are, that the person who came through the clearing is somehow less than the person who entered it, that the things stripped away were things you needed, and that their absence has left you diminished. What died was not you. What died was the version of you that was constructed for survival in the wrong environment, the version that performed in certain ways to be accepted, the version that managed emotions a certain way to keep relationships intact, the version that presented a particular face to particular communities because that was what those communities could receive, the version that had learned to make itself smaller in certain spaces and louder in other spaces, and endlessly adaptable in ways that were useful, but that came at the cost of a genuine, unperformed, fully owned sense of self. That version is gone, and its absence is not loss, it is liberation. What remains is the you that does not require an audience to be real, the you that has been tested by fire and found to be genuine, the you that knows, from the inside out, what you actually believe, and what you actually feel, and what you actually want, and what you are actually called to, not because someone told you, but because you have been in the place where the only voice left was your own and God's, and you learned to tell the difference between them. That person, the one standing at the threshold of the new chapter, is the most honest version of yourself that has ever existed. And the new chapter was built to receive that specific person. Now, I want to give you something you can use, not a concept, not a framework in the abstract. Something practical and specific that addresses what actually happens when you are in the process of responding to this command. I call it the packing protocol. And the reason it matters is this. Most people approach the transition by asking what they should leave behind. And that question, while important, is actually the second question. The first question, the one that changes everything about how the packing goes, is this. What are you carrying right now that was never yours to carry? Because the weight that is keeping you from moving is not always the attachments to the old chapter. Sometimes it is the weight of things you picked up in the wilderness that do not belong to you, and that you have been carrying so long, you have stopped noticing they are there. And until you put those things down, you will move your body to a new location and arrive there still burdened by the weight of things that belong to a chapter you left behind. So let me name what does not belong in your hands as you step into the new chapter. The first thing to release is other people's expectations of who you should be. Not their love, not the relationship, just the expectation, the specific shape they have decided you should occupy, the version of you they are most comfortable with, the role you have been playing in their story, the reliable one, the stable one, the one who is always available, the one who does not change in ways that require them to adjust. That expectation is not yours to carry. It never was. And every mile you carry it into the new chapter is a mile where you are not fully free to be who you are actually becoming. The second thing to release is the story that the delay was failure. This one is subtle and it is persistent, and it attaches itself to the evidence of the hard seasons and constructs a narrative that says, look how long it took. Look at what you did not accomplish in the time you had. Look at the gap between where you are and where you thought you would be by now. That narrative is lying to you. The delay was not failure. The delay was formation. And the specific formation produced by the specific delay is the exact thing the new assignment requires. The timeline was not behind. The timeline was precise. And the understanding of that, not just intellectually but in the bones, is one of the things you need to pack with you. The third thing to release is the version of your identity that was built for survival. We addressed this in the formation inventory, and I am returning to it here because it belongs specifically in the releasing category. Not something to grieve in the packing, something to actively, intentionally, consciously set down at the border of the old chapter. You do not need it where you are going, and carrying it into the new chapter would be like wearing heavy winter clothing into a different climate. It was the right gear for the wrong season. In the new season, it will only slow you down. The fourth thing to release is the guilt, all of it. The guilt for outgrowing, the guilt for leaving, the guilt for becoming someone that some people cannot follow. The guilt for the changes that happened in you that you could not fully explain to the people who needed the explanation. The guilt that sat on your chest every time you pulled back from a relationship that was completed. The guilt that told you moving forward was a betrayal of what was. Set it down, deliberately, not because the feelings that produced it were not real, but because carrying guilt into the new chapter is carrying the weight of something that has already been answered. The answer is, you were obedient. You were faithful to a process you did not choose. You did not abandon anything that was covenant. And the guilt that survived all of that is not conviction. It is static. And you do not need static in the new frequency. Now let me tell you what you carry forward. Because the packing is not only releasing, it is also intentional curation of what belongs to the new chapter. The first thing you carry is everything the wilderness taught you. Every lesson that came from the hard season. Everything you learned about what holds and what does not. Every insight that came from the specific conditions of your specific clearing. Do not leave a single one of those in the old chapter. They are yours. They were produced specifically for you in conditions that were tailored to your assignment. And the new chapter will draw on all of them in ways you cannot yet fully predict. The second thing you carry is your gifts, especially the ones that went quiet in the wrong environment, especially the ones that the wrong chapter did not have room for. They did not leave you. They went dormant. And the new location, with its new atmosphere and its new relational frequency, is the condition under which they will begin to stir back into full operation. Do not arrive at the new chapter thinking you have to earn them back or rebuild them from scratch. Bring them with you. They are part of who you are. They belong in the new chapter just as surely as you do. The third thing you carry is your covenant connections. The people who stayed through the disorientation, the ones who did not fully understand every decision, but who chose to remain present anyway. The ones who have seen the versions of you that were difficult, and the versions that were hopeful, and the versions that were scraped thin, and the versions that were quietly magnificent, and who have never fully left. Carry them forward. Invest in those relationships. They are part of what the new chapter is built around. The fourth thing you carry, and this is the most important one, is the word that has been spoken over your life. Not the word spoken by other people, the word spoken by God, the sense of calling, the deep, persistent, surviving through everything knowing of what you were created for. Carry it, even if you are carrying it with shaking hands. Carry it, even if the full picture is not yet clear. Carry it, even when the gap between the word and the current circumstances feels wider than what faith can comfortably bridge. Carry it, because the word is the compass. And in the new territory, with all of its newness and its unfamiliarity and its wonderful and disorienting freedom, you will need the compass more than you have ever needed it. Now, let me speak to the ones who are still in the threshold, the ones who have received this message and who know the command is real and who are not yet on the other side of the move, the ones for whom the in-between is still the present tense. The threshold is an active place, and waiting in it well is not the same as waiting passively. Let me give you 5 things that belong to the in-between season. 5 things that, if you practice them now, will mean you arrive at the new chapter in the best possible condition to receive what is waiting there. The first is directional prayer. Not prayer over the current circumstances, not petition for the current chapter to finally produce what it has not produced, but prayer toward the new one. Prayer that reaches forward. Prayer that says, God, I am trusting the direction. I am praying toward what you have declared, even though I cannot yet see it. I am asking you to prepare me for what I am moving toward, and to prepare what I am moving toward for me. That kind of prayer aligns your internal compass with the direction of the command, and alignment matters enormously for what arrives. The second is what you consume, not as a moral category, as a frequency category. What you feed your mind in the threshold shapes the frequency you carry when the door opens. If you are filling the in-between hours with voices that reinforce the narrative of the old chapter, voices that confirm the unworthiness story, or the delay as failure story, or the you are not ready story, those voices are shaping the internal environment you are arriving with. Begin to curate, carefully and intentionally, what gets access to your attention in the in-between. The new chapter will require a specific kind of mind, and that mind is being formed right now, in the threshold, by what you are choosing to receive. The third is investment in the covenant relationships, the ones crossing with you, in the threshold, when so much of the relational landscape is uncertain and shifting. It is easy to go internally and to reduce contact with everyone, including the ones who belong to the new chapter. Resist that. Go deeper with the covenant connections. Let them see where you actually are. Let them carry some of what you have been carrying alone. They are part of what is crossing, and the quality of what crosses together is shaped by what was built between you in the threshold. The fourth is activating the gifts that went dormant. Start using them now, not publicly if the season does not yet call for that, but privately, in the quiet, in the practice. The gift that went quiet in the wrong chapter needs to be awakened before the new chapter requires it at full power. And awakening happens through use, even small use, even imperfect use, even private use. Begin now, not when the new chapter has fully arrived. Now, in the threshold, as preparation for what the new chapter will require. And the fifth is this: stop calling it stuck. You are not stuck. You are loading. There is a difference between those two things that changes the entire quality of the in-between experience. A computer that is loading is not malfunctioning. It is doing the invisible, essential work that the visible result requires, and the threshold is loading. It is the preparation, the formation, the alignment, the internal reconstruction that the new chapter requires to be received at the level it was designed to be received. You are not behind. You are loading. And what is being loaded is not small. I want to say one more thing before we enter the final space of this message. And I want to say it because I believe it is one of the most important things a chosen one in transition needs to hear. You are not alone in this. Not in the general, comforting sense. In the specific, literal sense. Right now, in this moment, across this world, in different cities and different countries, and different chapters of different lives, chosen ones are receiving this same word. Not the same words I am using, but the same essential command. Pack up, something new is coming. The chapter you have been in has run its season, and what is ahead is unlike anything that came before it. And the reason this matters is not just for your encouragement, though I hope it is encouraging. The reason it matters is this: you are part of a collective movement. What happens when one chosen one steps through the threshold, when one pioneer goes first into the new territory, is that they make the crossing visible. They make it real. They create a path that others can follow because someone already walked it. Your obedience is not just for your own life. It is for everyone who comes behind you. The people who will be in the position you are in now, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, looking at the threshold with the same questions and the same fears and the same hope. Your having crossed it already will be the evidence they need that crossing is possible. And because of that, I want to ask you to do something. Someone came to mind while you were listening to this message. I am almost certain of it. Someone specific. Someone you know or know of who has been unusually quiet lately, who has pulled back from everyone around them, who has been faithful in a chapter that has gone on longer than it should have, who has been watering ground that has stopped producing and has not yet had someone say to them, "The ground is the problem, not you." Share this message with that person, not as a suggestion, as a mission. Text it to them. Send it in whatever way you can reach them, because what you receive today, they need to receive. And the confirmation that their clearing is preparation and not punishment, the word that their ground has run its season and the blessing has been moved forward, might not come to them from anywhere else. It might only come from you. That is what it means to be the bridge, to carry what you received into the space of someone who has not yet found it on their own. For those who felt the pull toward what I shared about the Genius song, the link to receive it at the price made available to those watching this message is still in the pinned comment and in the description. Only if your spirit confirms it. Only if you feel genuinely led. But the door is still open and the offer is still there. Now, before I give you the final word in this message, I want to tell you one more thing about what you carry across the threshold, because everything we have covered in the packing protocol, the releasing and the carrying and the curation of what belongs to the new chapter, it is all important. But there is one thing, one specific thing, that I want to name separately, because it does not belong in either the releasing category or the general carrying category. It belongs in its own category, because it is the most irreplaceable thing you have. Do not release God's expectation of who you are, not the performance-based, fear-driven, impossible standard version of expectation that some of you absorbed from religious environments that were more about management than transformation. I am not talking about that. I am talking about God's actual declaration over your design. The word that was spoken before the formation began. The knowing planted in you before the world had a chance to weigh in, of what you were made for, and who you were made to be, and what the fullness of your expression was designed to look like. Carry that, even half believing, even with the distance between the declaration and the current reality, still wide enough to feel like a contradiction. Even on the days when the unworthiness question is louder than the declaration, carry it anyway. Because it is not just encouragement, It is navigation. It is the compass. And on the other side of the threshold, in the new territory, in the disorientation that comes with everything being genuinely new, you will need the compass more than you can currently calculate. Ruth said it before she saw the harvest. Your God shall be my God. She made the declaration of covenant in the direction of the crossing before a single provision had confirmed that the crossing was the right choice. She carried the covenant into the unknown, and the covenant, carried forward with shaking hands and genuine conviction, became the ground on which everything else was built. Carry what God has said about you into the new location, into the new relationships, into every unfamiliar room that the new chapter places you in. Carry it as the most fundamental truth about who you are, not the most comfortable truth, not the most immediately verifiable truth, but the most fundamental one. And now, what remains? Not teaching, not framework, not principle. What remains is a declaration, a prayer, a commissioning, a moment where everything that has been said in this message, every revelation, every reframe, every permission, every identity named, every obstacle addressed, every formation acknowledged, finds its voice in a single closing word spoken over your specific life. This is the reason this message was placed in front of you today. Not any single other thing we have covered, as important as all of it has been. This, stay with me, we are going in together. There are no more concepts after this, no more frameworks, no more analysis or architecture or carefully constructed teaching. What comes now is simpler than all of that, and it is deeper than all of that. It is a conversation with the source, on your behalf, with the full weight of everything we have walked through together behind it. I want to start by saying thank you. Before anything is declared or released or activated, before a single word of prayer rises in this space, I want to start with gratitude. Thank you for this chosen one. Thank you for the specific, irreplaceable, unrepeatable person who has stayed with this message from its beginning. Thank you for the seasons you walked with them through, even the ones where they could not feel you walking. Thank you for the prayers you heard that felt like they went unanswered, and for the ones that were answered in ways they could not yet see. Thank you for the relationships you gave them that carried exactly what each season required. Thank you for the relationships that ended, as painful as the ending was, and for the ones that remained, as few as they sometimes felt. Thank you for the wilderness that was not punishment, but curriculum. Thank you for the clearing that was not loss, but preparation. Thank you for the ground that ran dry, because its dryness was the confirmation that the promise lives somewhere new. Thank you, from the beginning of this story to the moment we are in right now. I want to acknowledge something, not for God's information, for the chosen ones. God sees what you have been carrying. He sees the weight of the threshold. He sees the seasons of prayer that felt like speaking into an empty room. He sees the faithfulness that happened in private, in the moments where no one was watching and no one was affirming, and the only audience was the source himself. He sees the moments of genuine doubt that you held without releasing the thread entirely. He sees the quiet courage of the days where getting up and trying again was the whole of what was available. He sees the love you poured into people who could not carry it back. He sees the dreams you kept alive, even when keeping them alive felt foolish. He sees every single thing you have been through that you have not been able to fully tell anyone, and none of it has been missed. Not one day, not one moment, not one prayer, not one act of faithfulness in the small and the ordinary, not one word spoken in the dark where no one else could hear. He saw it all. Now, I want to invite you into a releasing, not a dramatic one, not a performance, a simple, honest, internal act of putting down what you have been carrying that does not belong in the new chapter. As I name each thing, I want you to, in your spirit, say one word internally, not out loud unless you are in a place where that is appropriate. Just in your spirit, say, release. The old story, the one that said you were not enough, that said the delay was evidence of something lacking in you, that said the ground going dry was your failure. Release. The old ceiling, the mental and spiritual limit you have been operating under, the invisible cap that has kept you from fully believing the scale of what God declared over you. Release. The old wound, the specific hurt that has been the loudest voice in the room during your most vulnerable moments, the one that knows exactly when to speak and exactly what words to use to destabilize you just when you are about to step forward. Release. The old identity, the one built for survival in the wrong environment, the one that was never fully you, but that kept you functional through seasons that would have broken a less resourceful person. It served its purpose. It is done. Release. The old comparison, the measuring of your timeline against someone else's, the calculating of where you should be based on where others appear to be, the diminishment that came from that calculation every single time. Release. The old guilt, everything named in this message about what you have been carrying as guilt for becoming, for outgrowing, for moving forward, for protecting what God was building in you. Release. The old fear of visibility, the terror of being fully seen and found lacking, of the new chapter requiring more of you than the hidden chapter did. Release. The old unworthiness, root and branch, the foundational belief that you are not the kind of person God's promises are designed for, that the chosen ones are everyone but you. Release. And the old address, the spiritual, relational, mental location that you have been living in that has run its season. You have already moved in your spirit into the new territory. Let the old address go. Release. Now I want to call forth who you are. Pioneer, I call you forward. The territory that has been waiting for your specific footprint, the ground that requires someone with your specific history and your specific gifts and your specific willingness to go first. It is ready. Walk into it without apology, without shrinking, without waiting for the crowd to confirm that the direction is right. You were built to go first, so others can follow, and the following is already beginning. Light bearer, I call you to full brightness. The dimming is over. The spaces that could not hold what you carry have been released from your story. The new location, the new people, the new chapter, they were built for the full expression, not the managed version, not the careful version, the full, undiminished, unedited frequency of what lives in you. Shine it. The darkness does not negotiate with light. It simply leaves when you walk in. Bridge. I call you into the crossing. The worlds you were built to connect are waiting on both sides of you. The translation that only you can do, the language that only you speak fluently in both directions, is needed now more than it has ever been needed. You are not between worlds because you are homeless. You are between worlds because you are the bridge, and the bridge's purpose is the crossing. Cycle breaker, I call you to the breaking. What has repeated in your lineage, in your relational history, in the patterns that came before you, it ends here. Not because you are more powerful than the pattern, because you are more willing to hold the discomfort of breaking it than to pass it forward. What ends in you does not continue, and the children of the new chapter will not inherit what you chose to absorb. Builder, I call you to the site. The construction has already begun. The resources are being positioned. The right people are being placed. The assignment is being clarified. And what you build in the new chapter will outlast you. It will carry your name into time beyond what you can currently see. Build with everything the wilderness gave you. Build on the foundation that only the hard seasons can produce. Build with the quality of someone who knows the difference between what holds and what merely looks like it holds. And now I want to activate what belongs to this new chapter. I activate the new connections, the people who carry the doors, the conversations, the recognition that the new chapter requires. I activate their movement toward you and yours toward them. Right people, covenant people, frequency-matched people, already in motion. I activate the new assignment, the specific, shaped, particular purpose that has your name on it and that the new location contains. Let it become clear. Let the doors that belong to it open in the timing that was set before the formation began. I activate the new provision. Resources that were withheld because the capacity to steward them was still being built. The building is done. The capacity is established. And the provision that follows capacity is now being released into the path of this chosen one. I activate the gamma that has been quiet, the God-given frequency of this chosen one, suppressed by the wrong environment and now being restored by the right one. Let it come back to full power. Let the intuition, the perception, the creative intelligence, the spiritual sensitivity, all of it return to the level at which it operated before the suppression began. I cover what is being built. I cover the move from the pull of the old chapter, the voices that will say, "Come back," the invitations back to the familiar, the moments of doubt that arrive in the disorientation of the new. I cover this chosen one from the instinct to retreat when the new chapter is strange and the familiar is calling. I cover the new relationships from premature exposure. What God is building between the pioneer and the new people is tender in its beginning. It needs to be grown in the right conditions before it is tested in the public ones. I cover it. I guard it. I ask for the wisdom to protect what is new without isolating what is flourishing. I cover the assignment from the enemy of comparison. The new chapter will present other people's chapters as evidence that yours is insufficient. I cover this chosen one from that lie. Your assignment has the dimensions of your clearing. It does not need to be the size of anyone else's. And now, I hear the Father declaring over you today, not as a theological formula, not as words constructed in a teaching, but as the word that has been the thread running through everything in this message from the beginning, the one that everything else has been preparing you to receive. He is not moving you away from something. He is moving you toward everything he always intended. The new location is not exile, it is destination. The new people are not strangers. They are the ones who were always meant to be in your story in this chapter. The new blessings are not additions to what you already have. They are the release of what was always prepared. And the new life is not a revision of the old one. It is the original version. The one that existed in the mind of God before a single chapter of the story you have lived was written. Pack up, I will carry you. I am a pioneer. I go first, and others will follow. I am a light bearer. My presence changes the atmosphere of every room I enter. I am a bridge. I was built to connect what is separated, and I do it without apology. I am a cycle breaker. What has repeated before me ends with me. I am a builder. I construct things that outlast me and carry the weight of what the wilderness produced in me. The new location is ready. The new people are already in motion. The new blessings are already assembled. The new life is already beginning. And I am not moving away from something. I am moving toward everything. Do not say amen yet. I want you to sit in this space for a moment, just a moment. Let what was just spoken settle somewhere deeper than the thinking mind, not into your analysis or your assessment or your evaluation of whether it is true for your specific situation. Let it settle into the part of you that does not argue, the part that simply receives. Feel the weight of it settle into your bones right now. It is done. It is sealed. We receive it. In Jesus' name, Amen. If something was sealed in your spirit today, if something landed in you that you want to hold on to, type, "It is done," in the comments. Let that be your declaration before the visible confirmation arrives. Let your comment be the stake you plant in the ground of the new chapter. I want to say one more thing before we close this space. You are not the only one who received this word today. Right now, across this world, chosen ones who found their way to this message through paths as specific and as non-accidental as yours, they received this same word. And they are doing what you are doing right now, processing, deciding, standing at the threshold with the command in hand, and the fear present, and the hope quietly, stubbornly persistent underneath everything. You are part of a community of chosen ones in motion, and that community, as much as anything else, is part of what the new chapter is about. Not isolation, not lone heroism. A network of people who received the same command in the same season, and who chose, each of them, to say yes to it together. If this message reached you at the right moment, let your like be your amen without words. Press it so this word can reach the next chosen one who is sitting in their threshold tonight, wondering if anyone sees what they are carrying, not knowing that the message they need is one press away. And if this space has been a source of words that have found you at the right moment, stay connected. There are more words being prepared. Words for the new location, for the navigation of the new chapter, for the specific questions that will arise as the new life begins to take its shape. Stay and let them find you when they are ready. Now go, not with every question answered, not with the fear fully resolved, not with the destination perfectly mapped or the timeline fully clear, or the approval of every person in your current life secured. Go with the word that has been placed over you today. Go with open hands and the surrender posture and the compass of what God has declared over your design. Go with the full inventory of what the wilderness built in you and the full intention of what you are releasing at the border. Go as the pioneer who was built for this territory, as the light bearer who carries what the new spaces need, as the bridge who makes the crossing possible for the ones coming behind, as the cycle breaker who absorbs the cost of the end so the next chapter can begin clean, as the builder who constructs from the depth of the formation. God said, pack up, and that is enough. New location, new people, new blessings, new